Hi, Deepa Lou here. I'm the creative mystic, and I ring this bell to awaken you to the divine presence within you. So, I was guided to talk to you today about a home altar. Why you would want a home altar, what the benefits are, and where are the best places for it for you in your home. Because a home altar has so many benefits for you as a spiritual seeker and a mystic. And because of that, Divine Mother was guiding me to share with you about my altar, which is right behind me, and encourage you to create one of your own. So let's start with why do you want to take the time and energy and your resources to create a home altar? You think, well, if you meditate, I can meditate anywhere. If you pray, you can pray anywhere. If you chant, you can chant anywhere, which is all entirely true. But the benefits of having a home altar is one, it builds up a vortex of energy. So if you're a meditator and you meditate in the same spot on a consistent basis, you build up that vortex of energy of that connection you have of divine presence being there, that you're able to connect more easily when you create a home altar. So if you pray, again, that energy, whenever you're connecting with God, Buddha, Allah, that divine presence, that whatever you call it, when you have a spot that you go to every day, you're building up that energy, that vibration of divine presence there, because you're consciously connecting at that point, whether it's in prayer or chanting, a Buddhist chant or a Sanskrit chant, or meditation. So that's one of the benefits, how it can help you have a deeper meditation if you're a meditator, have a deeper experience like when you chant. Because the idea with chanting is not to be doing it, rote out of habit, but to do it with, the power and the energy of you know, all the spiritual seekers who've been chanting that chant, and know that that energy is with you when you do that chant, and when you meditate, that you can go deep within to touch that divine presence that's within you, because it is within you. Okay, so that's one of the benefits energetically, spiritually. Now the other thing is, the longer you're on the spiritual path, I've said this before about how, it's not a bunch of new stuff, that it's about having deeper understanding. But the other thing that's really important on the spiritual path is remembering. How many times have you read something spiritually, and then you read it again in a different book, maybe phrased slightly differently, like the benefits of gratitude, or the benefits of meditation. But what happens? You get into your daily life of being in the world, maybe you have your own business or a job, any of that. You get into the world, and what happens? Poof! You forget, right? About that, oh, wait, God is with me 24/7. Divine Mother's with me all the time. Or we forget, about being grateful for what's going on. We are grateful for when something happens that we want, that we like, but we forget to be grateful for the things that we don't like. Because, what I like to always talk about is Divine Mother is speaking to us through everything that's happening in our lives. And so it's, how do you remember to be grateful for things you don't like? Because Divine Mother's communicating to you, your spirit guides are talking to you, okay? So your home altar helps you in remembering, because every time you see it, you are, yes. And it can help you, remind you to do a spiritual practice if you're trying to be consistent. That when people often start, and it was that way for me many years ago when I started on the spiritual path, it was hard for me to be consistent in the beginning. The first year I struggled. It wasn't until, someone made me a challenge that if I do it consistently, she promised me my whole life would be transformed, and she was right. And so ever since then, I've never, stopped. I do it every day now. And so your altar helps you in remembering, okay? It helps you remember to do your practices, but also, most importantly, it helps remind you that you're not alone, that Spirit is with you, that Buddha is here with you, that God is here with you. So what you want to do when you create an altar is you want to pick a place. A lot of times people go, well, where should I put it? You want to pick a place that provides you some privacy. Now, where I live, I have what is called my own room, which is my office and spiritual place. And, it's where I do my art and everything, my art studio. I have one room. And so I've created my altar in this room because when I come in it every day, okay, but I also can close a door and have some privacy. Okay, and that allows me to be able to do my spiritual practices when I want. So you're looking for a place where you have some privacy, but also you can see it. You don't want to back in a little hole in the closet that you never go in because it won't remind you to do your practices. It won't remind you that spirit is with you. But when you have it in a visible place, that helps you with remembering. Now, you might be wondering some of the things you want to put on it. You want to put on significant things, not just anything, but significant things. So I bought this little Buddha statue, and I love it because every time I see this little Buddha statue's face, I can feel the joy, the divine presence in joy, because there's these aspects of God, of divine presence. It's love, joy, peace, calmness, wisdom, power, divine light, and divine sound. Well, this little Buddha statue reminds me of the divine joy that's in me. So that's why it's significant and very front and center here on my altar, because it reminds me of that. So then I also have little mala beads, a statue of Durga. Now, you'll see that I have things on from all different spiritual paths because I'm an interfaith minister. Even though I call myself a Buddhist yogi, I honor many paths. So I have Durga on here because Durga reminds me of my divine power, because we aren't raised to be powerful, especially if you're a woman. If you're a spiritual seeker as a woman, we've been raised more to take a second seat, to step back, often to diminish our power by not accepting praise or the power or the things that people tell us we do well. That's actually diminishing your power. So I like to have Durga on there to remind me, because you are a powerful being. So I put Durga on there to remind me that I'm a powerful being. I'm a powerful woman. I'm a powerful spiritual mentor. I'm a powerful, all the things that I do to truly be powerful in being of service, powerful in doing what's true in my heart's desire, powerful in whatever it is that I feel called in my heart that I'm to do. You want to step into that power to honor that. So each of the things, and I'm not going to go through everything on my altar, but what I want you to do is think about what's significant, what reminds you of the divine presence. You'll see, I don't know if you can see it, but there's one of my spirit guide portals of Mother Mary over there, and that reminds me, that Mother Mary's there with me. So you get to decide what's significant is, what's the significance of it, but you want it to be things that you don't just like pass on by. You want to be able to look at them and connect with the divine presence that's within there and what it reminds you of, because that's one of the benefits of a home altar, is the remembering, of that spirit's with you. Because having that altar can also remind you of like the basics of on the spiritual path, like to come back to those basics, so you can put something up to remind you of that, because, that's why the remembering is so important. Maybe the basics of practicing gratitude, or coming back to the basics of having, a deep meditation, or chanting with, a centered, powerful energy. Because the longer you're on the path, like if you're chanting a certain chant, people can make lists in their head, and they're not really focused. And that's the thing you want to do, is you want to focus. So this is my main altar, okay, right here. But I also have mini altars throughout my home, because I want the benefit of remembering, whatever I'm doing, that Divine Mother's with me. So I have an altar on my desk. I have a little, it's a little mini altar in the sense of I have a little Buddha statue, a happy Buddha, and a crystal by my bed. You know, we have a home altar in the living room area to help, for our family. And so I'm not telling you you have to put an altar throughout your house because you may live with somebody who's not spiritual, but you get to decide. My wife and I are both spiritual, so we put our home that way. I have my spirit guide portals up all over the place in throughout our home because we want to be constantly reminded that spirit is with us. Mother Mary is with us. Divine Mother is with us. So that when we get into the world and we have a moment of forgetting, we get reminded. We remember when we see these spiritual images, see our altars. When we use these things. So I'm inviting you to create your own altar. Now, I know you may not have the space for that. Not if you have a lot of kids, or maybe you live in a space with a lot of people, okay? You may not be able to do all this. But you can at least create what I call a mini altar. And a mini altar is where you have maybe just one statue that has significant meaning to you, or a photo, and you put it in something that you can bring with you. So I call it, I have a little travel altar that I bring with me when I go places. So I don't know, let me see if I can get it out for you. Might be easy, might not be. Let me come in here. Yes, it's not too hard to get to. This is part of my travel altar. Is in here is I have little cases and my little mini Gehanzen in here. And then I have with me a little pouch that I bring and I wrap up and put in my altar beads. And I have significant handkerchiefs that I've gotten at different places that I use to carry with me. Maybe I bring like a Sri Chakra, which you might not know what a Sri Chakra is, but a Sri Chakra is basically Divine Mother in more of a physical form that has all the different aspects of Divine Mother represented in this little form. So I'll bring those types of things. So if you don't have the space to actually have a big physical altar like I have, create a mini, have a little, like pouch, something to put it in that you can actually go and bring it out every day. Now, ideally you want, like I said, to have an altar that you can put out. But if you have a pouch, you can at least put that pouch of your spiritual items next to your bed, knowing that when you go to your bed, yes, I want to meditate, or yes, I want to go chant or do my spiritual practices. And then you go to the same place in your home, wherever that is, and you take it out and you put it up. Now, of course, I'm recommending a home altar, and you don't have to have a fancy altar like mine where it's got all the little different doors and drawers. You could have a simple little table. It could even be a little TV tray table, if that's all you can do. And you can just put a little piece of cloth over it. See, I have some different cloth all over the top of mine. But you can put a piece of cloth, a pretty colored cloth, over like a TV tray. You'd be amazed by adding fabric, something that feels good to you, how that all of a sudden it changes the vibration and changes the energy. And I recommend picking a color that is significant to you. I love green. I used to have, if you've seen some of my other videos, I used to have a floral scarf on their altar cloth that I'd gotten from an Archangel Michael retreat. Unfortunately, one day, and this is where I'm grateful for Spirit, is a spark from one of my matches apparently lit a little piece on fire, and then it kind of smoldered and burnt. But fortunately, Divine Mother came and put it out. So then I went to, let me go with green. I think it's time for a new color. And so, that's the thing, is you go to the next, okay, if something got burnt, well, I guess Divine Mother's telling me it's time for me to put a new altar cloth. So I recommend it, like I said, if you cannot have a bigger table, you can even get a little TV tray and put an altar cloth on it. go to a material store, pick out something that is really pretty to you. I usually go to different Indian stores because they actually will carry altar cloths there often. They usually have a spiritual section, so I recommend that. And if you're looking for like a little Buddha statue to bring out your joy, I'm going to have a link of the Laughing Buddhas. I could not find the one I bought anymore. It's not available. Even though I love it, I would have put that there if I could find the link for it, but I couldn't find it anywhere anymore. But I do have different Laughing Buddhas. Like I said, I have one by my bed. So I highly recommend, checking out a Laughing Buddha that you might want to put on your altar to remind you of, joy. And if you're looking for any kind of images, feel free to go to my website. All of my G clays, which are basically high-end museum art reproductions, are of my original spirit guide portals where I have prayed and blessed over them, and each one of them came with a specific blessing. So if you're like, this is Mother Mary Unconditional Love over here, if you're looking to bring more energy of love into your life, you might want to have her, on your altar to remind you like, oh yes, Mother Mary and her unconditional love is here with me, every day, 24/7. Or Archangel Michael or something else that can bring you the blessings of divine presence. All right? Love to hear from you if you have any comments or shares. If you resonate with what you're hearing here, please subscribe. I love to have more subscribers. And remember, greatness is within you. It's time to let it out. Have a miraculous day. Blessings.